Hello everybody, welcome to a new video. Today we will be discussing normals, or the lack thereof. When should you model geometry and when should you use normals and bumper mapping? It's a question which comes up quite a lot, especially with beginners. I guess everybody is a beginner to some level. And a question of whether I took the right or wrong decision with my grip here. We're still here on the Nintendo Zapper. Just to give you a bit of an idea of my current strategy, I'm kind of focusing on making a model every few weeks, putting up the whole process as long form video with no audio, maybe some just some text just to advise what's going on, but generally from that video I want to take 2 or 3 pieces of geometry and just maybe discuss the kind of issues which come up. So these smaller videos will maybe be 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and this will be essentially the last video connected to the Zapper anyway. So when should we use geometry, when should we not? It's something where I feel like I'm repeating myself quite a few times. It depends on the use case again. When I actually thought about making this video, I thought, oh, what would be a good idea is I'll show you the model which has just a texture map. So if we go back to the geometry here, you see there is basically just quite a clean mesh, and our texture is doing all of the hard work here, which looks completely fine. I think it looks surprisingly good considering, and you know, I don't think anyone would question this as a model, and I thought a good idea would be during video okay, well we'll actually make this in real geometry on the side here. And then I looked at it again, I thought, oh my lord, I mean, where would you begin? I think it kind of almost answers the question right off the bat, because this would be an absolute nightmare to make as geometry. The straight lines, I mean, fairly easy I guess, but you know, you could try and just sketch out some vertices on this using the shrink wrap to kind of keep it in place. You can maybe try and build this shape as a boolean and kind of just move it in slightly here and do like a massive cleanup job on the end. But either way, it's going to be one hell of a job, and I was definitely not prepared to do that. And the question is, why would you be prepared to do that really? If this was a model where, you know, like an actual weapon, when you see these weapons which are made, people take renders from this angle very close, showing all the scratches and that kind of thing, and yeah, I mean, there you probably would put the effort in as a portfolio piece, but for this Zapper I think it would be a massive waste of time to make any attempt to model this as geometry. I obviously made it as because it's fun, and I made it as a tutorial, and also I normally sell my models, so I think if I put this out for sale later and this grip is modeled in geometry, I can't think of many use cases where someone will be thankful for that being the case, so I skipped over it. So in general, the idea would be, if you feel you need it, model it. If you don't need it, don't model it. The texture, I feel, is doing more of an adequate job, but we'll just do just for the fun of it. I think if we come over here slightly, and I can re-add the texture here. we will hide below. So now we have this here. So let's try modeling a little bit and see what kind of work is involved here. So the first thing we need to do is, you can see this is slanted, so we would need to straighten this up. And once we start straightening up, it's going to deform our shape here. So what we could do, if we take a duplicate and we can add this one and just say it's a guide, and we'll bump up the subdivision a little bit here, and we will hide it. So here we can add then a deform shrink wrap and use our guide. So now essentially we're keeping the shape while we're still making changes here. Can show you maybe just, if we say scale Z0, so you see here on the side, you see it bounces out, and when we add our shrink wrap, it's keeping it in place, and that's helping us here. So let's try, we grab scale Z0 and maybe even come down a little bit more, would be fine. And then we can bevel this around here, and then we would need to let's see, then we can, if we do one more here, maybe scale Z0, our texture in the background is getting a bit warped because we're playing with the geometry obviously, but it doesn't matter, we're just playing here to see what kind of work would be involved. So here I'm just trying to line things up a little bit, and if we take this one also, maybe a little bit more. Maybe a lot more, 3-2, that'll be fine. So if we then take so what we need to do now, we're going to extrude these inwards, and just what we can do is, if we add a group here, which is going to be no shrink, and we assign, so we're essentially here saying shrink everything except for these vertices. So if we now extrude on the Y, and we will take away again the texture here because now it's just in the way. Right, now it looks quite terrible because it's too soft, so what we would need to do is come around here and add some beveling. Control plus to see what we can get here. We do not need these internal pieces. We essentially just want the edge. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm already bored of this insane amount of work for such a tiny effect. here we would need here, and I think we're done. So then we will add, you haven't had any screen keys, you guys have not seen what I've been doing here. Okay, 1. So now we put everything on. So this is what we look like here roughly. Still kind of looks quite terrible here. Maybe we can put some bevels. Is there anything we're missing? I don't think so. So it's not perfect. This is why it's not helping us, because we have these here also. Which we do not want. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to take it. So anyway, we see here now, let's take the other grip back and we take our new one, and we need to take both our new ones here, guide also. So here we are. So you can see it definitely needs some cleanup. We're obviously missing the edging here, which is making the creasing, but you know, who cares? As you can see, you can make it work and it will probably look fine in the end. The one thing you would benefit from this would be, first of all, we definitely need to take down the bevel here. But you can see from this edge here, you will get these alleys, which will make the silhouette look a lot better. So it has that going for it, and you could achieve this also with displacement. But a part of displacement, you'd have to jack up the subdivision on this to make it work. So you can see on this one here, we're essentially missing out at this point the silhouette information we're getting there. But it's a sacrifice I made, and honestly I could have had some depth to this also with displacement, but I didn't feel it was needed. I think from this distance here is more than adequate, and even someone like me who does get annoyed with every small defect, this is working fine for me. So to conclude, should you use geometry? No. Well, no. In this case, no, I don't think so. If anybody can put up a case for why I should have done, or in general you should do, outside of what we've already discussed, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But when we model, we need to know what we're modeling for, the time constraints. If you're making this for a game, I mean, just imagine the increased amount of geometry you would be adding here. This huge polygon count would be significant enough to make people ask questions. So there you go. I hope this has been a little bit informative. Next time out, I think I'm going to release the second part of the Zapper video, so that will just be an hour video in silence with a bit of background music maybe. I kind of get a little bit bored of sitting and speaking for like an hour or 2 hours on end of just building stuff, so I'm going to consider, but I think maybe that's not going to be something I'm going to do. I don't generally like to sit down and speak while I model. I do model very much in parts, maybe half hour here and there, and it's hard to get the time together. I have kids and a family, so it doesn't really work. So therefore I need to record, then edit, and add the audio over the top afterwards. So it's quite a lot of work to go through. Whereas here I'm just doing everything live because, you know, it's 10-15 minutes. So yeah, well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.